Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, once again, my name is Ediri Sobande. For those joining us for the first time, I've already introduced myself and I've talked about the platform. So we'll go straight to what we have for today. Today, we are looking at a soft skill, and of course, in combination with data visualization, which could be a soft and a technical skill. Sometimes we overemphasize the technical skills and we forget how important the soft skills are. Data storytelling is a very vital soft skill that is needed by every data professional. And why do I say so? It's a skill that when you combine it with data visualization, you have a powerful tool in your hands, a powerful tool that enables you communicate your insights to your audience. And this audience varies. You have diverse audience. And you're able to communicate these insights to achieve two main purposes. One is to be able to engage your audience, engage their emotions, and inspire them to make decisions. Beyond engaging with their emotions and inspiring them to make decisions, you are able to inspire that call for action in them, so that as they are listening to you, they are able, at that point, they are immediately able to decide the next course of action. And of course, this will also come in your recommendation and in your conclusions as you deliver your storytelling. So, having talked about that soft skill, sometimes people confuse data storytelling with data visualization, and sometimes you assume that they are the same. They are not the same. They are different. However, they can be used together to achieve that powerful tool that I was talking about. And so having said that, we are going to explore these two skills. We'll break them down and we'll look at them in details. We'll start with data storytelling, and then we'll talk about data visualization. So please move to the next slide. So what is data storytelling? Data storytelling is a technique that combines the components of data story. Take the component of your data as a story and then combines it with the craft of storytelling. So, storytelling is a craft. Some people have it naturally. For some people, you have to learn it. So you have your data, and then you have the story that is around your data. And being able to deliver that story in a compelling way is that skill that is needed, which is called the skill of data storytelling. So we will look at what is a data story, and then we'll also look at storytelling as a skill. Please move to the next slide, Sharon. Try to be as fast as possible. Okay, first of all, I'll talk about what is data story, and then we'll come here. What is a data story? What is a data story? A data story is that narrative that you put around. It's okay, we can leave it on the slide. I'll talk about this. I don't want to bore us with too much text, and so I'll talk about it, and then we'll get to this. What is a data story? A data story is that narrative that you build around your data. So you have data. Your data is the evidence. The evidence, what you're talking about, the evidence of the facts that you're trying to convey to your audience. Now, it's one thing to have that evidence. It's another thing to have a narrative around the evidence. So if you take data on its own and you share it with your audience, they may at some point they may be able to gain some insights, but they will spend time trying to navigate, trying to understand what's in that data. And sometimes they may lose sight of the important data points in that large data set. So what do you do with data to build a story around the data? You take a narrative and you wrap it around your data. So for every data story, you have three main components. You have one, the data, which is the foundation of what you're doing. And then two, you have the narrative around the data. And then the third component, you have visuals. And it's the visuals that help you to put your narrative together in a coherent manner, in a strategic way, and in a sequential manner, so that your audience, they understand what you're saying and the important points you are trying to pass across to them. Now, let's talk about storytelling. What is this thing about storytelling? We've all had an experience in one way or the other while growing up, where someone tells you a story. Sometimes you read in books, you read about stories in books. But you know what? There is something about somebody telling you a story. It's different from when you're reading it. Who can agree with me? If someone is telling you a story, it sounds more interesting to you. You want to hear it. That's why some people will tell you, instead of reading the book, they'll say, tell me, you've read the book, tell me what the book is about. Or tell me what this movie is about. It's interesting. As the person is talking, your mind is working, your brain is working, you are visualizing what the person is saying. You are trying to put everything together and understand what the person is saying. Storytelling appeals to your emotions. Storytelling helps you to connect with what the person is saying. And so in storytelling, bringing it now into the data field is a way you transform your data or the information you are trying to pass across into a memorable narrative. Something that is memorable, that when your audience, when they listen to you, they can picture it and they remember it. And they not only remember it because it's memorable, this thing I keep talking about, it engages their emotion. And when something engages your emotion, you are moved to want to take action. That is the importance of storytelling. And when you bring it into data, you also bring the elements that are involved in storytelling. And what are these elements? Number one, your storytelling, your story must have a theme. And what is that theme? The theme is, why is the story happening? Why? The why. Why do you want to tell the story? Why are you telling the story? So your storytelling, first of all, it must have a theme. Secondly, your story will have a setting. A setting is like obvious points around your story. What do we mean by obvious points? The time, the place, the date, you know. When you talk about the place, bring it into the business setting. Assume you want to tell a story about the customers in a bank, for instance, a banking sector or a banking setting right now. Your customers, what did they do? What do you want to tell about what's happening to your customers? Okay, you discover that you're losing customers. Your customers are churning. Let me use the data language. You're experiencing customer churn, and customers are leaving you. The numbers of your customers are reducing, or customers are closing accounts. And then you're trying to find out what's going on. What's the time? What's the date? If you look at what has been happening, what's the data around it? The place. So those are things that we put, that's what we call the setting of the story. Then the next thing you want to talk about, which is very important, are the characters in your story. The characters in your story. So in this case, you know, taking it back to the general storytelling or a traditional storytelling or a movie. You're watching a movie, there are characters in the movie, right? You have the main actor, you have those who are trying to save the world, the heroes, you have the bad guys. You know, there are some key characters in the movie. Now, in your own story, who are the characters? Who are your key characters? Examples of characters: customers, account officers or relationship managers. You know, it depends on what you're talking about. You're talking about performance, for instance, the employees, Who are these characters in your story? Relatable characters that the audience can relate with. The next elements of your data storytelling is the plot, a structured plot. A structured plot. What's this structured plot? A structured plot, you will have the introduction, you will have the incidents that happened, the conflict, the high points, and all these will lead towards the resolution at the end of the day. There has to be what? A resolution. Very important. Your story cannot end, or it cannot be complete without that resolution. So at the end of the day, putting all these elements together, your story should be able to engage your audience. Very important. Now, we've talked about the storytelling and all that. Cheryl, I think you have skipped some slides. Is this the next slide? Please back up a bit. Okay, next. Okay, let's stop here. So I've talked about the elements in your data story. I've talked about having what? I've talked about having a theme. I've talked about having a setting. I've talked about having a character. I've talked about having a plot. Now, the next question we want to ask is, why is it important to build a story around your data? Before I even talk about this bit, I've mentioned it in my introduction and in the previous things I've talked about, the ability to engage your audience, to engage their emotions. If you have a story around your data, you're able to maintain that engagement. As you are talking to your audience, because you are saying it in the way of a story, you are telling it in the form of a story. You're not just throwing data at them. If you have ever experienced this, especially if you've been in the data space for a while, you are showing an Excel sheet or an Excel table. Sometimes your audience, at some point, I've had someone tell me before that when they see numbers, they begin to have headache. They just go dizzy. They don't like seeing numbers. They don't like seeing all those tables, so many rows, columns just going around, that it gets them confused. They just want you to bring out the points for me. So your audience, who are you talking to? It's able, when you have a story around your data, you're able to maintain that engagement. Why? Because you will bring your story to the level of your audience. You bring it to that level, you understand your audience, and be able to build the kind of story that will appeal to them. The next reason why it is important to build a story around your data is that it filters out noise. What do we mean by noise? In data, there's noise. Noise means the irrelevant data. All those things that are irrelevant, they are not important. So you want to take out all those noise, even when you're building your dashboard. There are some things you put there on your dashboard, they are not important. They just crowd it and they confuse the user. So you want to be able to filter out the noise and only show the relevant data points, the relevant and important information that your audience needs. Remember what you're trying to achieve. Two things. Remember what you're trying to achieve. You are trying to engage your audience, engage their emotions. You are trying to move them to be able to make decisions. You are trying to bring out that call to action in them so that they can take action and resolve a particular problem. So you're trying to solve a problem, or you're trying to bring something to their attention. So we must always have that at the back of our minds as you are building your dashboard or as you are creating this narrative around your data. The third thing, which is very important, is that it helps to simplify complex data. Like I said before, initially, that some people, when they see a lot of numbers, a lot of data, they get confused. They don't even know where to start from. So you, as the data professional, you know what is important. So what you do is you use your storytelling to simplify complex data. Simplify it and make it so easy to understand. Make it relatable, easy to comprehend, easy to understand, so that your users can make informed decisions. We've talked about appealing to emotions and values. You understand your users, you understand your audience, so you want to bring out that value, those values, those things that will speak to them, that will speak to their values, speak to their emotions. So for instance, you're talking about staff welfare. There was a time one of our members, one of our very good members, Stella, She built a dashboard around the patients in the hospital and why, the reasons why, to show the reasons why some of these patients spend more time at different points when they are being attended to. And she also went on to make recommendations on how they can solve the time patients spend getting to their doctors or whoever is going to provide treatment to them. So at the end of the day, she was able to make a recommendation to say, okay, you need to deploy resources this way or deploy resources that way. What are you doing? And as you're making that story or building that story around your data, you're appealing to the emotions and to the values of your audience. So remember, you need to understand who you're building this dashboards for. Who are your audiences and who is that person that will make the decision? So you want to appeal to that value, that thing that is important to that person. So if your audience, it's important to them, customer service is important to them. So you want to bring out from your data the story around customer service and how you can improve it. The fifth thing is that it helps to influence decision. I've talked about that a lot. It influences decisions. It inspires a call to action. So as you are telling your story, the people who are listening to you, they're already saying in their mind, this thing, my staff, this person is making sense. So this problem has been here since. We need to take action. We need to do this. Oh, what's the next course of action? What are the next things that we need to do? It inspires a call to action. And the last thing, which is very important as well, this is important. It's not like the least of all these things. It's very important. It motivates learning and sharing. What do I mean by that? When you build your dashboard in a way that your audience can engage with, they want to learn more. You're building a dashboard. Most of the time you're not presenting everything today. You may present either the summary page, the most important things, the highlights, but then there are other reports beneath that dashboard. So what you want to do is you want to give them that option to be able to explore. So they say, oh, I love this dashboard you have built, this dashboard you have built. I love the story you just told me. I love the presentation you have made. I want to know more. I want to explore more. Send me the dashboard. So it's more to want to learn more. They want to click. They want to drill down. If you've been building dashboards on Power BI or any of the other BI tools, you understand what it means that you want to drill down, you want to drill through to get to more details. So you see a chart, you see a pie chart. It's only showing you percentages, it's showing you total figures. But you want to drill down to see the details. You want to understand who are the customers, who are my most profitable customers, who are my high-performing relationship managers. You want to drill down. So it motivates your users or your audience to want to learn more. And it also motivates sharing. So as they are learning more, the next person, Mr. Smith, will need this. Oh, Tunde will need this. Oh, Abu will need this. Oh, I need to share it with Emeka. It inspires sharing and learning. So they are sharing with other users who need it as well. Thank you. Sean, please, let's go to the next slide. So we've talked about why it is important to build a story around your data. Now, the question somebody will ask that, okay, you said all these nice things, all these nice things, nice to hear, but how do I create a compelling story? How? What are the steps? And I'll give us 5 steps, 5 practical steps that we can take. The first one is you must define your goal. Remember what I was saying earlier, that when you're telling your story, there is a message you want to pass across. You're not just telling stories for the sake of telling the stories. No, there's a message you want to pass across. So as a data professional, whether you're a data analyst, a data scientist, a data engineer, whatever your role, you want to be able to define your goal. You ask yourself, what do I want to achieve with this dashboard that I'm building? What do I want to achieve with my data story? That is your goal. Are you trying to highlight the problems that staff are facing, that the employees are facing? Are you trying to bring out the reasons why customers are closing their accounts? Are you trying to bring out the reason for a drop in revenue? There has to be a goal. The next very important part of your framework when you are building a data story is for you to understand your audience. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. So sometimes data professionals will make the mistake of building the same dashboard. I say, oh, the CEO, same dashboard. The CFO, same dashboard. The head of marketing, same thing. No, you must understand your audience. Who are you building this dashboard for? Who are you creating this story for? Who is the person that will be hearing your story and making decisions out of the story? The audience is important. The way you would narrate your story to a CFO might be different from the way, it's not might, will be different from the way you will narrate your story to the head of marketing or to the business-facing team. The CFO, you can use all the financial jargons for him. He understands all those financial terminologies. But when you come to the marketing team or the sales team, you want to build another story. You want to create a different story for them that, again, appeals to their emotion, engages them, and will inspire a call to action. The third thing, which is also very important, is to choose the right data. To choose the right data. Your data set is important. So you have a goal, you have an audience. What kind of data do you need? Where are you going to get the data from? How are you going to source this data? And how are you going to analyze this data? Choose the right data that is appropriate for your goal and for your audience. Appropriate for you to achieve your goal and to be able to inspire your audience. The fourth thing is to select the appropriate visuals. And we will talk more about that when we are looking at visualization. Before I talk about the fifth one, let me dwell on this a bit. Sometimes as a data professional, you make the mistake of saying, you just have data and you say, oh, I think a bar chart would be nice. Let me use a bar chart. Or I think a pie chart would be nice for this. Let me use it. Oh, I just found this visual. It's so nice. It looks so good. I want to impress my audience with this visual. I want to just show them that I can do these things. I can do this. I have this custom visual. I want to use it. Is it appropriate for your data sets and also for the message you're trying to pass across? Remember, you have a goal. You have a message that you want to convey to your users. The fifth one, which is also important, is to create a narrative flow. Create a narrative flow. And how do you create this narrative flow? Remember, if I have not mentioned it before, I want to mention it now, that your data storytelling can be verbal or it may not be verbal. So it's not every time that you are there to talk to your dashboard or to talk to the goal, the message you're trying to pass across. It's not all the time. There are times your dashboard will have to speak for itself. And so you should be able to create that narrative flow so that as they are moving across your dashboard, as they are looking at your dashboard, remember, most of us read from what? Left to right. There are some languages that you read from right to left, but most of the time you're reading from left to right. So when your audience is engaging with your dashboard, the first thing their eyes goes to the top, the left, and they are reading like this. So how do you create? You want to be able to create a narrative flow that will engage your audience. And remember again, engage them and speak to their emotions and inspire a call to action. I'll talk about how to create a narrative flow quickly. We talked about, Sean, before you go there, we're still here. We talked about the different elements, of the story. So I'll just dwell on that briefly and go into a little bit more details there. A narrative flow, the first thing you want to have what? You want to have your setting. You want to have your setting. Where did this thing happen? What's the time? What's the date? I've seen some dashboards, no date at all. No date, no time. Your audience is looking at it and they're wondering and asking, they say, at what point? When did this thing happen? At what point did it happen? So you want to be able to show the date, the time. Not necessarily the time. You might not have all the hours and the minutes there. It depends on the story you're telling. There are some data story that will require you to provide the time, but the date is important. The date, when did it happen? Where did it take place? Where? You know, the setting. I've talked about the setting with it. And then the next thing I want to talk about is the characters. We've also talked about the characters. For you to be able to identify the characters, put your characters together. Who are my main characters here? Who are the key characters? Who are the people I'm talking about? What am I talking about? Who am I talking about? So your characters, okay? We're talking about your narrative flow. We're talking about the date, where the setting, how, when did it happen? Where did it happen? Does it have to do, is it an internal setting? Is it an external setting? Is it within your organization? Is it outside your organization? You want to, is it a department in your organization? What is the setting? You understand? The next thing is to identify the characters. We've talked about that. The third thing is you want to describe the conflict. The conflict. In the business world, what is the conflict? The problem you're trying to solve. The issues. What are the issues? What problems are you trying to solve? What is the conflict? I will also want to add here that it's not every time that your data story has to do with conflicts or problems or issues. There are times you might just want to highlight some key things that are happening around. There might not be problems, there might not be conflict per se, but you want to bring some things to the attention of the audience, of the decision maker. Oh, I'm bringing this to your attention. I'm bringing this to your attention. I'm bringing, let's use an example. Let's say customer, staff, employee performance, or I'm bringing employee satisfaction, or I'm bringing something. I just want to bring it to your attention. I want to bring something that is happening within the organization to your attention. So most of the time, it's not always a conflict or a problem. You might just be bringing something to their attention. And then the last thing about creating a narrative is you must have a resolution. There must be a resolution. What is your resolution? At the end of the day, what's the resolution? What's the call to action? What are your recommendations? What do you want your audience to do with this story that you're telling? So that is a narrative that you have created. You started from somewhere, remember? You started from the setting, you've talked about the characters, you talked about the conflict, if there's any conflict in it, and then the resolution. If you don't have conflict, you skip that bit and go to the resolution. But your story must always end with a call to action. A call to action. Having said that, we've talked a lot about data storytelling. We'll now move on to data visualization. Okay, we've talked about data storytelling. You can't tell your story alone. So data storytelling is not a standalone technique. You can't just start telling stories alone, right? You need, how do you tell your stories? That's where the visualization comes in. So like I said before, a strategic combination of these two will become a powerful tool for you to be able to communicate your message across the audience. So let's talk about data visualization. What is data visualization? Is the process of creating, representations, graphical representations of the information you're trying to pass across. So when we say graphical representations, which means you're making use of visuals, charts, tables, graphs. Sometimes they could even include animations, different visuals, all sorts of visuals. It depends on the kind of story you're trying to tell and also the data sets that you have. So for your data visualization to make sense and to appeal to the audience, you must understand what data, like we've talked about your goal, the data set that you have, and the appropriate visuals to use per time. So talking about visualization, there are many techniques, many visuals that you can use, so many. So we'll just talk about a few of them because of time. As time permits us, we'll talk about a few of those visuals, and then we'll be able to take some questions. The first visual we'll be talking about is the line chart. Shall we move to the line chart, please? Yeah, the line chart. What does the line chart do? The line chart is a popular visual that we use. It shows trends. You want to be able to see trends either across time or across a group, maybe a group of parameters. But it shows you the trend. For instance, in this case, we can see three different products in an organization, and it's showing the trends in terms of the sale of those products. The sale of those products across different age groups. So we want to see which of the age group is purchasing a particular product more. So with a line chart, it is easy for your audience to see the high points and the low points. So you can see a spike there. And sometimes the audience may want to dig deeper to understand, why is there this spike for this particular age group? And sometimes to even take it home, you might want to also do a trend that shows the time, I mean the date, so that you know at what point did this spike happen, you know. So a line chart is fantastic for showing trends. The next chart we'll be talking about, Sean, please, the next slide. The next one we'll be talking about is a bar chart. A bar chart. Bar chart helps you to break things down in a simple way. So you have, again, you have these products and you want to show the different categories. You want to be able to categorize them. And for bar chart, you can also combine different parameters. So here you can see the three different products is shown by revenue and also by age. So you can see here, the products are highlighted in this color, in different colors. So at a glance, you can see which of these products is being purchased the more. Which one are users purchasing or subscribing to the more. So at a glance, you can see what's going on with your products, and you'll be able to make decisions or ask more questions around this. So again, it helps to break things down in a simple way that your audience can see easily and engage with. So the next slide, please. Another common visual are your indicators. Indicators. With your indicators, you can easily show KPIs clearly. So you can show, for instance, total revenue at a glance. You can show total number of customers at a glance. You know, you can also some of
Hello, Ediri. I think your mic is muted, and please apologies, seems a network.
Can anyone hear me? Can others hear me?
I can hear you now. You're back now.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. So I was talking about the indicators. So at a glance, it helps you to show metrics. So most of the time, when you see a lot of charts, you see these indicators sometimes at the top. So that as you look at the charts, the audience, as they're engaging with the dashboard, when they engage with the dashboard, it's easy to see those indicators. Those indicators just highlight the key points, the key metrics, quickly at a glance. Sometimes they might not even engage with the other visuals anymore. Looking at those indicators, they begin to ask questions. Oh, total revenue last year, and I can see annual change 1 point this. Oh, what's going on here? Sometimes you have different cards on top showing the different metrics. So the number of customers or cost, revenue, profits, whatever metrics you want to show. But at a glance, it is easy for your audience to engage with it, and they can ask questions easily. The next one, please. The next slide, Sean. Yes, column chart. Column chart is almost similar to what you can do with a bar chart. It also simplifies your data and the metric you're trying to show. But in this case, you can see it side by side. You can easily compare your values side by side. And it's easy to see which is max or where you're dropping or which is max. For instance, sometimes you're comparing one very common use of this column chart is when you are comparing actual versus budget. You want to see your actual versus your budget. So you have your budget and you have your actual. And you want to see how am I doing, or how is performance, how is my business doing, or how are the teams doing in terms of the budget against the actual. So at a glance, it's easy to tell where you are. If you are meant to overshoot budget, fine, where you're overshooting budget. But if it's cost you're talking about, you don't want to see that you're overshooting budget. So who is costing us so much money? Who is overshooting their budget in terms of cost or expenses? So it's easy at a glance to see side-by-side comparison. The next slide, please, Sean. Aha, pie chart. I want to talk about this a little more. Pie chart helps you to show proportions. So you have a whole and you want to show proportions. For instance, you have male, female, and you want to see, oh, my product, who is subscribing to my product more? Are they more of men or women? You know, the proportion at a glance, you can see 38% men or 20% men, 80% women. You know, at a glance, it just shows. You have locations. How are they doing in terms of revenue contribution? So I have a total revenue of 1 billion or 1 million. How is this being, who is contributing to this revenue? So it shows proportions. But there's something I want to bring out here, which some data professionals miss out on. It's not every proportion that you can use your pie chart to show. Once the parameters begin to exceed 5, you can no longer use a pie chart for it. So make sure that the different parameters that you are trying to show, the different proportions you are trying to show is between 2, 3, and 5. When it starts exceeding 5, then look for another visual to use. Do not use a pie chart. For instance, look at the one next to it. For me, it's on my right, maybe for you to be to the left. There's a pie chart that has 4 parts, right? 4 parts. As an audience, which of these 2 pie charts will you like to see? Which one will speak to you? Which one will give you the right message? The one with so many parts, or this one with just 4 parts? I'll respond. Of course, the one with 4 parts. This one has so many parts that at the point it's even confusing. You don't know what you're trying to see. What are you seeing there? What is my data professional? What is the person showing me? What's my data analyst trying to show me there? So when the first one we present is thank you. So when your parameters that you're trying to show once it exceeds 5, try not to use a pie chart. Use another visual for that. Okay, those are some common mistakes that data professionals make sometimes. Sean, please, the next slide. Yeah, the pivot table. This one is common amongst, if you've been using Excel, also on your BI tools as well. It's also there at a glance. There are some metrics that you want to show using a pivot table. It's easy to just show some key figures and to show them also side by side. For instance, something like this, you want to show them. And then for pivot table, you can also introduce colored bars, conditional statement where you have bars to indicate if it's exceeding a particular threshold or not. So you can use those conditional, you can put some conditions there. The color can change to red, to green, however you want to show it, but it's very good and very useful to show figures. If you want to show the numbers, you want to show the figures at a glance. The next one, please. Tree maps. Yes. Tree maps is good to display hierarchies. So in this case, for instance, they have different channels. There's the email, social media, and AdWords. Words. Okay. So what your tree map will do for you is to show different hierarchies, and you can see compare values at a glance. So here we can see that, for instance, we have all these channels, and where do we, as a business, where are customers engaging with these channels the more? At a glance, you can see that it's United States, because in every of the channel, you can see the color is separating the channels. You have categories. It's grouping them into categories. You have purple for a particular channel, and you have different indicators, different colors indicating channels. So at a glance, you can see the country where the channel where you are doing great across board, across all of the channels. At a glance, you can see the country, and you can see that it's just United States. So it helps you to compare values and to show hierarchies. The next one, please. Yes, the maps. There are times you want to show geographical data. So the map is a fantastic visual that you can use to show geographical data. And I have used maps a lot in the past. And with your map, as you show these visuals, you use the bubbles, for instance, to indicate a particular kind of parameters you want your audience to see. For instance, the color of the bubbles, the size of the bubbles will show, will pass the message, maybe where we have more customers, or where we have higher sales, or where we are making more revenue, things like that in terms of geographical location. And the beautiful thing about the maps, the maps, especially if you're using Power BI, is that you can also drill through. So you're looking at this bubble, for instance, and say, oh, okay, I see that I'm making a lot of sales in this place, in this location. I want to drill through. I want to see some more details. You can provide that option for your audience to be able to drill into this map to see the details of that sales in that area. What kind of product are we selling more in that area? Who are our top customers in that area? Who are my top relationship or business managers in that area? So it's a fantastic visual to show geographical data. The next one, please, is the funnel chart. The funnel chart shows you pipeline. So it's you use it typically for sales figures. So it starts from the top, different stages. You want to see at what point your customers begin to drop off. At what point they drop off. So for instance, in this case, you can see site visits, it was high at the top. Search, it begins to drop. Those who engaged, interacted with the site, and then picked items and added it to their carts, that's one stage. Then who are those who checked out? Some people will have items in their cart and they'll leave it there forever. If you like doing online shopping, sometimes you just buy things, put it in your cart and put it there, and you forget about it. So you will fall into that category. And then it goes on to the end where you actually make sale. So you want to see at what point my customers or my users or those interacting with my product or my site, at what point are they dropping off? So the funnel is very good to show that kind of message and to convey that information to your user. The Gantt chart, we know if you've been on projects before, you use this to show your timelines for your project, how the project will go, or how you're doing in terms of your project, what you're doing, the tasks for each week and each month. It's fantastic for timeline and for project implementation, and to show progression of whatever tasks you're doing. So this is a fantastic visual for that. Yes, Sean, thank you. The timeline. It's a very effective visual to show the sequence of events. So you want to show how the events, how they are going to take place in a chronological order. So how, whatever story you want to tell, depending on the story you're telling, how did it happen? What was the sequence of events? So a timeline, what's the plan? For instance, you're talking about the plan, or you're talking about a vision. You want to talk about a vision for your team or for your department. You know, you want to show them how things will happen, what your plans are, what the plan is for the department, or you're speaking to an audience. So it's fantastic for showing sequence of events in a chronological order. The next one is the word chart, or the word cloud. Now, I've seen a lot of users or data professionals just use word cloud because they like it. So they use it. They use it for anything. You just use it for any messaging you want to do. No. A word cloud is a visual representation of your text data. So you want to show the frequency of a particular word. For instance, you're looking at comments from customers, or you're looking at what's it called, feedback from customers, customer satisfaction. You want to look at the feedback. What's that word? What's the most frequent word in that text data? So you have a lot of text data. You want to get out the loudest, the most frequent words. You want to show the frequency. So the bold words and also the color will show you the proportion, how frequent that word is used. And then with that, you can build a standard to say, oh, this is what is happening. This is what our customers are saying. This is what they are saying about our product, or this is what they are saying about us, or this is what our staff, this is what they are saying. And we need to do something about it. So a call to action here, you talk about it as well. Occasion, I think that is the last for the visuals we're looking at. And then quickly, I think we're running out of time. Quickly, I'll just talk about some tips on how you can create an effective and clean visualization. When we talk about clean visualization, I love when I see presentations, I always love to, I know some people love to use colors, but what I do, I try to encourage clean dashboards. What do I mean by clean dashboards? I encourage data users to try to use white as your background, or neutral colors. White, or at most, if you have to use something for your background, gray, a neutral color. Avoid using loud colors. In fact, as much as you can, avoid using a colored background. Play around with colors on your visuals itself, but for the background, make it clean, okay? So the first thing you want to do when you're creating your visualization is to identify the key information you want to pass across. So again, we're coming back to the goal. We're coming back to the message. The key information you want to pass across at a glance. So when your users see your dashboard, when they interact with your dashboard, what is that key information? If they don't go away with anything, what is that thing that you want them to see? So that's the thing you want to make bold. That's the thing yes, I can see somebody's comment in the chat. Say, no wonder my dashboard is looking like what I don't know. So what is that key information you want to pass across to your users? The next thing is, we've talked about it before, evaluate your audience and how they navigate, how they interact with data. Don't make it too complex for your audience. If you know they're not techie, help your audience. Make it simple. Give them something that is relatable, something that is easy to understand. It's not a time to show off your skill on how to do color combination, or you found one fantastic chart. That's the time you want to show off that chart. Who is your audience? Who is your user? Who are the people that will be engaged with your dashboard? Understand them. There are some people, they can't even navigate this dashboard. Make it simple. So understand your audience, evaluate them, and how they interact with data and with technology and with your dashboard. Avoid unnecessary distractions. We've talked about, when we're talking about data, we talked about noise. That's for data. Now, coming to your dashboard, avoid unnecessary distractions. I'll give you an example. Sometimes there's this scrolling bar, I remember when I started building dashboards then, it's probably I just added the scrolling bar, that one that scrolls. Fantastic visual. I wanted to show off. I loved it so much. So I just put it there on my dashboard. And when I started presenting, somebody kept asking, please, what's that thing that is scrolling up? I keep seeing that thing scrolling. You know, it became a distraction. So if it's not important, if it's not going to be useful for you to pass your message across to your audience, take it off. Avoid distractions. Avoid anything that will distract your audience from the main information you are trying to pass across. Then the fourth one is choose appropriate visuals. Be mindful of your choice of colors, like I've said before. Be mindful of your colors. Be mindful of your overall design. Choose the appropriate visuals to use. We've talked about some of the visuals. Don't use a pie chart when you're not supposed to use a pie chart. Don't use a bar chart when you're not supposed to use a bar chart. And finally, make your visualization as clean and beautiful as possible. Sometimes just looking at your dashboard alone, the person will just want to, oh, I just love this. I just want to look at it. I want to engage with it. I want to interact with it. Don't make your dashboard offensive to the eyes. You know when it becomes offensive to the eyes? When you have colors splashed all over, sharp colors, shouting at you, shouting at the user. Some people have color blindness. Put them into consideration. Some people use glasses. Put those ones into consideration as well. So your color combination, be mindful of how you use colors and make your visual as clean and beautiful as possible. Thank you so much.